Friday the 13th, a day of cancellations, superstitions, and for some, a day to marathon the Friday the 13th franchise. What can I say? People love a good gore fest now and then, but what about the day after Friday the 13th? What about Saturday the 14th? Who cares? Well, someone did because they made a movie about it. And since it was released in 1981, we're going to talk about it. So unpack those moving boxes, clean out the fridge, and don't open that old book as Laramy Wells and I discuss Saturday the 14th from 1981 on this episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. I am your host, Tim Williams. Joining me to brave the cobwebs, the vampires, and the terrible rubber monster suits, it's a guy who knows that while Friday the 13th is bad, Saturday the 14th is much, much worse. Let's welcome back to the show, Laramy Wells from Moving Panels Podcast. How you doing, Laramy?
Hey, there's so many owls, Tim. So many owls.
They were keeping us up at night. Yeah, so Laramy was very excited about Saturday the 14th. He owns a Blu-ray copy. I'm sure it's a rarity these days, but we were talking about before we started recording. This is a true forgotten 80s flick. Not a lot of backstory, Not a lot of trivia that we're going to be able to go over, but we will talk about all that there is to talk about in this zany, it's kind of a genre mixing comedy.
Yeah. And I'm sure you'll talk about this, but Roger Corman adjacent.
Yes, yeah, very much so. Very much so. Well, let's jump right in. No need to waste any time, but you know how we do this. Laramy, when did you see Saturday the 14th for the very first time?
And you know
on
how
TV.
we do this. I saw this on TV. I don't remember exactly when. I just know I saw it on TV as a kid. That's all I can tell you. So
yeah.
And this is one of those that stuck with me. Like, it's one that I saw it as a kid, did not see it again until I was an adult. But I remembered the movie.
And see, I'm kind of the opposite because I've seen that cover, like, you know, it pops up, of course, around Friday the 13th and different 80s groups that I'm a part of. And I'm like, I know I've seen it, but I really couldn't remember much about it. And I think in my mind, I kind of got it mixed in with Transylvania 65000 with Ed Begley Jr.
Yeah,
because they're both kind of like, you know, kind of similar spoof comedies.
You first think of Ed Begley Jr. and not Jeff Goldblum.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's in that. And Gina Davis. Yeah. But when I went back and watched, I was like, I know I saw this, but it was very much like watching it for the first time because, like, I know I watched it as a kid, but I don't think it was one that was on repeat as much. I don't even think this was one that was like heavy on rotation on HBO. Like, I think if it was, I would remember it more, but I think it was always in the video store and it was one that I think we would pick up and we would watch, but it wasn't in that heavy rotation like some of the other 80s movies we talked about it. So how long has it been since you rewatched it before rewatching it for the podcast?
I honestly could not remember. Like, I tried to think back. I have seen it again, but I really could not remember when it was. But it's probably been several years since I've seen it. But yeah, and you talked about confusing it with Transylvania 65000. I actually confuse it with, let's see if you remember this, Mr. Boogedy, which was a Disney movie.
Yeah, Disney movie. Yeah. I remember that one. Yeah.
And then it has a sequel. Yeah, I think that was early 90s.
Yeah.
And then it has a sequel. And I actually remember the sequel more than I remember because I think the sequel is like a full-length movie and the original was just a short.
Oh, okay. Maybe so.
Of Mr. Boogedy. But yeah, no, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I've probably seen this movie 4 times in my lifetime. And yes, I do.
But it just stuck.
So,
just stuck. Yeah. Yeah, it was probably a kid when I saw it last. Like, it's not one that I've rewatched in the last, since I started the podcast. It's been on my watch list that long, but yeah, we had to wait. We had to wait till we finished the Friday the 13th franchise before I was ready to jump in, even though very little to do with Friday the 13th at all.
Nothing to do with Friday the 13th.
Well, while we're talking about that, let's jump into our new segment called Risky Quizness, where I'm going to ask Laramy a few. This time I only have 3 true or false questions about how this movie was made, the pre-production and casting. So I think he's going to ace this one. He's going to redeem himself from our Glory episode.
Can't do worse, can I?
Right. No, not really. All right. True or false? Saturday the 14th was written as a direct parody of the 80s slasher franchise.
I mean, false? Because
that is false.
It's a parody of the monster movies.
Yeah. While it definitely capitalized on the slasher craze with its title and marketing, the script is actually a spoof of classic 30s and 40s Universal monster movies and old school haunted house tropes. So, which is very evident. All right. He's 1 for 1. True or false? Paula Prentice, who plays the mother Mary, filmed the entire movie with a broken arm that she had cleverly hid from the camera.
Although I do think there were some scenes in which it wasn't broken, but true. It's fun to watch all the scenes where she's not moving her right arm.
Right. Yeah, she broke her right forearm just before filming began. If you watch closely, she's constantly using random props, clothing, and specific camera angles to keep her cast hidden.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if he can do a full sweep. Number 3, your last question here. True or false? The film was intentionally rushed into production to beat a rival horror comedy that was originally titled Thursday the 12th.
I've never heard of that, so I'm going to say it's false.
So close, Laramy.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it was true. United Artists had a spoof in the works called Thursday the 12th, which eventually came out a year later under the title Pandemonium. Producer Julie Corman and director Richard R. Cohen fast-tracked Saturday the 14th so they could hit theaters first. Yeah, I've actually watched Pandemonium, and that was one that they played on HBO a ton. And I actually just rewatched it in the last year and a half, and it is much more of a spoof of the slasher movies. Like, it's teenagers in a high school, or it's kids that come back to the high school for a high school reunion, and there's a slasher that's like they're killing the adults, but it's come to find out it's somebody that they bullied in high school. I think I may be putting 2 other
I know there was the
together,
movies,
but yeah,
excuse me. I know there was the movie Student Bodies. Yeah,
it's very very similar, but Student Bodies was R, and Pandemonium is very much PG, but it's much more like an airplane type parody where it's like a lot of the sight gags and like those kind of things. But anyway,
okay,
we'll get to that one eventually. I was like, maybe now that we finished the Friday the 13th franchise, I may do like the parody comedies going forward. So since there's a few of them, Student Bodies, Pandemonium are 2, and there are a few others that came out around that time. So yeah, so that is pretty much all there is about pre-production. Was Julie Cohen, who is the is the wife of Roger Corman, right?
Yep.
I think that's right. Yeah. She heard about the original story that was a parody of the old monster movies, and she wanted to throw her hat in the ring as a producer, got a director on board, and they made the movie in 3 weeks. It was very quick filming and production. So anything that you know about it? Was there any special features on your Blu-ray?
There's an interview with Julie Corman, but honestly, it's just her talking about the writer movie is and the actor.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of dull, to be honest.
All right, well, let's jump into the cast. So we'll start with the first person, Richard Benjamin as John Hyatt, the father of the family. He has starred in a number of well-known films, including Goodbye Columbus from 1969, Catch-22, 1970, Portnoy's Complaint in 72, Westworld, The Last of Sheila, both in 1973, and Love at First Bite in 1979, which was also a horror kind of spoof movie. After directing for television, his first film as a director was the 1982 comedy My Favorite Year, starring Peter O'Toole, who was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor. His other films as a director include City Heat in 84, The Money Pit, which we've covered in 86, My Stepmother's an Alien in 88, Mermaids in 1990, Made in America in 93, Milk Money in 94, Mrs. Winterbourne in 96, and Marcy X in 2003. He was actually cast in lead role for this film after 2 years earlier having made a standout supporting performance in another horror comedy, Love at First Bite, as I mentioned, which also spoofed the Dracula legend. And I would say I bought a 2-pack Blu-ray of Love at First Bite and, oh gosh, what's the one with Jim Carrey and Lauren Hutton?
Is that Twice Bitten?
Twice Bitten. Yeah, that's it. I couldn't remember the other one. So I watched both of those a couple of last year, and it's actually really funny. Like it's definitely dated for 79. It's got a whole disco number in the middle, like a little spoof of Saturday Night Fever in there. But yeah, but I remember that's what I kind of remember Richard Benjamin from. I kind of know him more as a director than an actor, but kind of like this movie.
What's crazy is I remember him. You probably don't. I don't even know if you'll know what I'm talking about. There was I want to say it was an HBO movie called The Pentagon Wars with Kelsey Grammer and Carrie Elways.
Okay.
And it's a comedy, but it's based on a true story about the Bradley vehicle, and he's in it. That, for some reason, is what sticks in my head. Is whenever I see him, like I remember back to the Pentagon Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I've seen him in other things, but
yeah, I think I might have known him more from TV, but I definitely knew him from this. And kind of Love at First Bite, because I remember that Love at First Bite used to play on TV like every Halloween when I was really little, like from like in the early 80s, and so I think I watched the TV version a couple of times. All right, and then we've got Paula Prentice as Mary Hyatt, the mother of the family. She's best known for her roles in Where the Boys Are in 1960, Man's Favorite Sport, in 1964, What's New Pussycat, 1965, lots of questionable titles, Catch-22 in 1970, The Parallax View in 74, and The Stepford Wives in 75. Yep. From 67 to 68, she co-starred with her husband, Richard Benjamin, in the CBS comedy He and She, for which she received a nomination for a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress on a Comedy Series. So I think they met. No, they were already married when they made this movie. So yeah. As we mentioned earlier, the movie was produced by Julie Corman, wife of legendary B-movie king Roger Corman. Julie Corman revealed in interviews that Paula Prentice absolutely refused to wear standard vampire fangs for her scenes after her character is bitten. Richard Benjamin actually had to be the one to play mediator and break the news to the director. So I did read like he had to convince her that she could pull off being a vampire even without the fangs.
Yeah. She actually talked about that in the little
in the interview
session.
Okay.
So, yep. Yeah, I did not know they were married. Like I'd never heard of the he and she show. No. Nope. I didn't know. Honestly, I knew her from Stepford Wives. I'm a big fan of the Stepford Wives, so I did know her from that. But I think that is the only thing I know her from.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known her. I think I've seen the Stepford Wives, but it's been a long time. So, but yeah, this is the only thing I think I would have known her from for sure.
Yeah. Apparently, the two of them hosted an episode of Saturday Night Live back in the 80s too.
Oh,
like together,
I can see that.
Like they co-hosted.
Yeah, I think I saw on his filmography. I think he'd hosted Saturday Night Live a couple of times, so maybe 2 or 3 times. So,
yeah, apparently that He and She show was pretty popular.
Yeah, must have been. Yeah. But they didn't show those reruns after school when I got home when I got home, so didn't see those. So
I saw Simon and Simon, but not
yeah.
He
Oh yeah. Scarecrow and Mrs. King.
There you go.
Cagney and Lacey. Sorry, I'll stop now. All right, definitely a face that I do remember. I do know, and a name I know. Jeffrey Tambor as Valdemar, the vampire looking to buy the house. I mean, he's known for his television roles such as Jeffrey Brooks, the uptight neighbor of Stanley and Helen Roper in the TV sitcom The Ropers from 79 to 80. He was on the Larry Sanders Show. He was in Arrested Development, probably his most well-known to this generation. He was also on Transparent from 2014 to 2017. His film roles include Injustice for All in 79, Mr. Mom, which we covered in 83, There's Something About Mary in 98, How the Grinch Stole Christmas in 2000, Hellboy and Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. He was in the Hangover trilogy, The Accountant, and The Death of Stalin. But yeah, he's just been in so many movies.
In The Accountant.
Yeah. So I love it when he does comedy. I mean, he's good in like more serious roles, but he's so funny. But yeah, I knew him mainly from Mr. Mom. That was the movie that I saw a gazillion times as a kid. So that's probably my first introduction to Jeffrey Tambor outside of this that I actually remember.
Well, let's see. Based off of years, I would probably say to where I actually like knew who I was looking at would probably be The Grinch.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And then it would be Arrested Development, because I think The Grinch came first. So it would be The Grinch first.
Yes. Arrested Development was 2003 and The Grinch was 2000.
The Grinch was 2000. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would have immediately recognized him from The Grinch.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been not that I would, because I know I saw Mr. Mom as a kid, and
yeah, his role is pretty small in that he's like at the very beginning and the end, but just not much. He's not like a main character in the neighborhood. He was one of his coworkers or his boss, I think. So,
and I've seen, and I mean, I knew later that he's in Brenda Starr, which is another comic movie, but yeah, I don't think it would be anything before Grinch that I would have immediately known or recognized him. I probably still couldn't have told you his name. It probably wasn't until Arrested Development that I could have told you his name.
Right.
But identifiable, I would have gone, oh, like when I saw him in Arrested Development, I would have went, that's the mayor from The Grinch.
Yeah. And I would have been like, that's Michael Keaton's boss that fired him in Mr. Mom. All right. And then next on the list, we got Severn Darden as Van Helsing. He was an actor and writer known for Battle for the Planet of the Apes in 1973. He was also in Real Genius in 1985 and Back to School in 1986. Fun fact, he was also a founding member of the Second City Chicago-based comedy troupe, as well as its predecessor, the Compass Players.
Yep. She talked about that in the interview.
His eccentric take on the monster hunter Van Helsing includes a running joke where he dramatically announces, "I do not drink coffee." This is a direct deadpan parody of Bela Lugosi's iconic line from 1931's Dracula, where he always states, "I never drink wine."
Yeah, so, I would not have made that connection, but I get it now that you're saying it.
I didn't get it until I pulled it up. So, but yeah, he was fun. Another face that I recognized that I didn't expect to see here, Carrie Michelson as Debbie Hyatt, the daughter. She sang on the soundtrack for Sesame Street and was performing in off-Broadway plays by age 11. In 1975, her family moved to Beverly Hills, and she soon won guest spots on TV shows such as Different Strokes and Eight Is Enough, but she's best known, as I know her, as Katie Kaninsky on NBC sitcom Give Me a Break with the fabulous Nell Carter.
Yes.
I was a huge Give Me a Break fan. Huge. Yeah. And I can honestly say I probably had a crush on her when I was younger as well, because she was definitely the prettier daughter in my opinion. I mean, I'm not trying to be
insulting me.
Well, sorry. No offense to the other daughter, but that's definitely what I remembered her from.
Yeah, no, I recognized her from that as well.
Yeah,
but can't say I had a crush on her. I was a little too young in the 80s for that yet.
Yeah, and like I said,
my crushes didn't start until the 90s.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm guessing because I was like, I probably was too young to really think that, but I don't know. Reportedly, producer Roger Corman wanted her to be nude during the bath scene to spice up the video release in Europe, but she refused. He considered using a body double, but ultimately dropped the idea, which the movie doesn't need that at all. Like there's nothing, there's no really violence or language. I mean, that would just be so out of, it's such more of such a tame, like, and I even saw other articles and reviews talking about how like a family friendly, movie. So that would have really taken it out of that context.
Yeah,
for sure. So
came close though.
That's how I was hanging on for dear life.
Also, but there's also she's got the like
bubbles
sud bikini top.
Yep.
That she wore, but she was you didn't mention her age. She was 20 when they made this movie.
Yeah.
So even though I think she's supposed to be playing like a teenager.
Yeah. She's probably playing like 16, 15 or 16 probably. Yeah. And then the brother, Billy Hyatt, was played by Kevin Brando. Not much about him. He was in this movie. He was also in Uncommon Valor in 1983 with Gene Hackman, the late, great Gene Hackman, and Patrick Swayze. And he was also in The Octagon in 1980 with the Chuck Norris. And that's really all I had on Kevin Brando. Even though he had a face, I was like, I was thinking he grew up with somebody that I'd seen in something else, but I've seen Uncommon Valor. Maybe that's it. But I just thought he had done more than that.
So no relation to Marlon Brando?
No relation to Marlon Brando. He is actually the son of a band member from like a group of like the 60s. It was his dad was in a pop group, but it wasn't. They had like one song. I didn't make note of it, but I'm sorry. But yeah, he probably took Brando as a stage name to get him some work as a kid. One I had to do a little digging on, Nancy Lee Andrews as Yolanda, wife of the vampire Valdemar. Valdemar? I don't know. Before stepping on the movie set, she was a highly successful international fashion model who graced the covers of major magazines throughout the 60s and 70s. Her most famous pop culture footprint outside of modeling was her long-term relationship with Beatles drummer Ringo Starr. She met him through John Lennon, and the two were engaged, dating from 1974 until 1980. After their highly publicized split, which included a palimony suit, she later published a book called A Dose of Rock and Roll, showcasing her personal photos and stories from her time in the rock scene. Very small role, but I was like, she had to be somebody, but there was very little information about her. And then only by name, because he's only at the very beginning of the movie, but Stacy Keach Sr., who of course is the father of Stacy Keach Jr., just goes by Stacy Keach. But anyway, he's known for Pet Sematary in 89, The Parallax View also in 74, which the wife was in. And he was also in Pretty Woman in 1990. He's also, his other son, James Keach, an actor, director, and producer, was married to actress Jane Seymour. So part of an acting family. But that's all I got on the cast. Anybody that you wanted to mention or you thought's worth mentioning?
No, you had. I wanted to make sure you got Stacy Keach Jr. Senior,
Senior. Yeah,
because that was the one where when I saw his name pop up, I was like, oh, hey, look at there.
All right, we're zooming right along. Let's talk about iconic favorite scenes. So this might be a little hard because it's not one that's kind of emblazoned in my mind. But if someone said the movie Saturday the 14th, what scene immediately pops in your mind?
So for me, there's two. There is the dad going, do you see any monsters in this room? While the monster's standing directly behind him.
Right, yeah.
That always, and then it is the mom going, well, look at all these owls when she's surrounded by the bats.
Yeah.
That's the main two. That I always can connect to this movie. But yeah, other than that, nope.
Yeah. I don't have an iconic scene because, like I said, I know the poster more than anything, or the video cover more than anything else. I was trying to think if there's anything. I think the monster in the bed was a scene that I remembered seeing before, but I wouldn't have thought of that until I watched it again and saw. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this scene. And then,
which is I'll hold it up for people who are actually watching this.
It's a terrible video.
Is that supposed to be Jeffrey Tambor?
I don't know, because they combined two of the monsters together. So
yeah,
because it's the Dracula suit, but it's the creature from the Black Lagoon head.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So
it's really hard to tell.
Not a very good rendering.
What'd you think of the cartoon animation at the beginning?
Oh,
that might have been my favorite part.
My favorite scenes. I love the opening credits. And that, once again, that was a part that I was like, oh yeah. When it started, I was like, oh, I remember the cartoon at the beginning. I remember all the different, creatures coming up in the bat and all that kind of stuff. I was like,
all the eyes.
Yeah. And then as the movie went on, I was like, maybe I never finished it. That was just the cartoon. After the cartoon was over, I was like, yeah, I'm done. Or after the kid and with the creature behind him, the monster.
I got to tell you, I watched this with my family.
Okay.
Lily was worried. I mean, she's almost 8.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, it's a silly comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Even the things that look scary are just going to be silly looking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're watching it, and at one point, Ruby went, how did this movie get made? And then she was like, why did this movie get made? And honestly, I'm sitting there watching it going, look, it's just that silly 80s comedy and all that. And then it got to the end where Jeffrey Tambor and Van Helsing are like posing at each other.
Right.
And then they're making train noises for some reason. And
there are some interesting sound effects in this.
That's interesting choice.
Yeah.
There's some really bad ADR in it too.
Very bad. Very bad.
From the get-go. Yeah. When we first see Jeffrey Tambor and the woman that plays the vampire's wife, that as soon as they started talking, I'm going, that's not what either of them are saying.
Right. And then
I want to say there's even a point where the kid's talking, but the kid's mouth isn't moving.
Isn't moving, yeah. I remember that. And there's some weird cuts too. Like there's just like scenes that just like end abruptly. And I was like, I'm like, was this supposed to be like a commercial break or something? Like it was weird. It had some weird moments, but
choices were made.
Yeah, choices were made. And I was trying to think, I was like, I can't really say, I'm not a Roger Corman, expert. I may have seen one or two of his movies, but I'm not one that watches a lot of them. I was like, is this his style? Is that kind of the way? It really felt like one of those old B movies, like the,
like the Roger Corman movies?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like the late night drive-in type of movies. And also, well, maybe they're just parodying that as well. So, but yeah, what about favorite scenes? We talked about the opening credits.
Yeah.
Any other favorite scenes? No. I was like, I knew this was going to be a short episode.
No. I will say it is so interesting that, again, it's called Saturday the 14th. It comes out a year after the first Friday the 13th.
Right.
It is not. So you would expect it to be a parody.
Yeah.
No parody.
Not at all.
No mention. In fact, this movie almost parodies Nightmare on Elm Street more. And that movie wasn't released till 3 years later.
Yeah, because they mentioned Elm Street it was the street they were living on.
The house across the street looks like Nancy's house.
Right.
And then the bathtub scene.
Yes, the bathtub scene for sure.
Like it almost makes me go, was Wes Craven like referencing this movie when he made the first Nightmare on Elm Street?
He was like, nobody saw that Saturday the 14th movie. Let's do this. And Nightmare on Elm Street.
We'll use the same house with the red door. We'll use the bathtub scene. We'll just use his glove instead of the fin. We'll put it on Elm Street.
Yeah. Let's talk about weird scenes, since we're kind of there anyway. The scene where the cop first shows up and he's running past them at the house, and I didn't really hear what he said, but I guess he said I forgot my badge, or I left my badge at home. I'm always forgetting.
Yeah.
When he comes running, it's right after the scene where the realtor lady, for some reason, comes to the house in like the middle of the night and gets killed. So they show like her purse on the ground and little blood splatter.
It sprays blood on it.
Yeah. I'm thinking the cop is going to find the body while they're standing there.
Nah.
But no, it's completely disjointed. Like he only runs there then, so that like 20 minutes or 15 minutes later, when they're screaming for help inside the house, he hears them as he happens to be walking back, putting his badge on. I was like, it was just weird. No mention of the realtor lady goes missing. Like, nope, nothing.
Nope. You had to have the one kind of, I guess, shocking kill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but I love even that scene too, when you get the flash and whatever the creature was, like doing the, wiggly arms, whatever he was doing, you see that silhouette, and it's like, what is that? What is the creature doing? Like, so weird. I also, when the creature from the Black Lagoon character comes up out of the tub, the wrinkle in the suit, like as he's coming up, just killed me. I was like, oh, such a fake suit.
And then what was the monster that it kept like doing its teeth? Like that's supposed to like, I guess it's just gonna chomp on them. It was just like, that's no growl, no roar, just
well, even teeth. the alien looking monster that we first see in the kids' room and all that, like that looks like it's gonna be like this, like E.T. Mac and Me type.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
He's going to make friends with that one.
And that's exactly what I thought was going to happen too. Like when he got close to him, I was like, oh, he's not dangerous. He wants to be a friend, but that was not the case. So logic, which I know is a big thing for you. Explain to me the book, because I was like, okay, very Evil Dead.
Yes.
Kind of reference there, which came out in 1980. So could have been possibly an inspiration for spoofing, but they, it didn't really they didn't really mention until later about how whoever opened the book is the one that's cursed or whatever. But then the kid just can't leave the house. Like every time he opens
Nobody
the door,
can leave the house.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the running bit with the delivery guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then he comes during the party, and then at the end of the movie when they're constantly going, "Who's he? I have no idea. We don't know who he is."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the running gag, is that once you enter the house, you cannot leave.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I didn't understand the book either. The whole thing, like Jeffrey Tambor says, whoever controls the book controls the world.
Mm-hmm. Not really.
How do they control the world? Yeah. And then, because it made no sense. Even when we get and I'm assuming we're okay now to do like a little bit of spoiler for this, 46-year-old movie. But even when we get the reveal that Van Helsing is actually the bad guy,
mm-hmm.
and the vampires are actually the good guys, even when they're explaining all that, I'm going, then why did he need the book? Like, why was Jeffrey Tambor so... I've been waiting 300 years to get a hold of this. Why? What are you going to do with it?
Right.
Because it looked like the only thing that can be done with it is it releases monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly that's not what you wanted. So what was your plan? And then it also made no sense. Like I was okay with when the little kid finds out that if you hit a monster with it, it hurts the monster. And I was like, okay, well that kind of makes sense because they came from the book, and so the book can hurt them. I'm fine with that. Just giving it to Van Helsing at the end, it causes him to disintegrate.
Right.
Okay. Like, so what was Van Helsing's plan the whole time?
Right.
He never could have got his hands on that book. There's no explanation to it at all.
Yeah. It's like, we need an ending quick.
Yeah.
We're already at 75 minutes. We can't go any longer. Let's wrap this thing up really fast. So, once again, 3 weeks to film. They were moving at a lightning fast pace with very low budget. The special effects were pretty bad. I mean, when they turn into a bat, when
yeah,
that's
some
what's happening again?
Great whatever it was, stop motion or early kind of computer animation, whatever it was that
and then
I would have rather they just turned them back into animated bats than whatever that was.
Or when somebody was eating something, and I think it was
the cake.
It might have been the cake.
Yeah,
and then
he puts the cake back, and the rat, which is clearly just somebody's hand.
Yeah. I was gonna say it was the Muppet rat that comes and grabs it. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, the rat that was all body. There was no legs on that thing, because it is just a sock puppet with teeth. It's like somebody just glued some hair to it, a couple little eyes, and then it's so bad. But it's Roger Corman so bad it's good. Like,
all right, yeah. All right, well, so we're right there. So, like I said, I don't have any trivia to really add besides, even though the movie was not successful at the box office, it did produce a sequel, which Laramy mentioned to us in the last episode, Saturday the 14th Strikes Back, that came out in 1988, which was made and released. But let's talk about it.
That was it. It was made and released.
Yeah, it was made and released. Haven't watched it yet. Reviews are terrible. Reviews for this were terrible too. But anyway, kind of somewhat of a variation of a question you ask on your show. Well, let's say you were hosting a midnight movie marathon. What other early 80s horror comedy would you make the perfect double feature with Saturday the 14th? So kind of like what would you pair this with?
I mean, I'd pair it with the sequel, but you did say early 80s.
Early
and the
80s, yeah.
Sequel came out in 87, I believe. Probably Student Bodies.
Okay.
I mean, I can't think of. I'm trying to think of early '80s horror to pair it up with, and I can't. Student Bodies is this one is because, like I said, I had never heard of Pandemonium.
Yeah. And see, I would pick that one. Yeah, I would pick Pandemonium as my.
And I'm probably more familiar with like more early '90s stuff.
Yeah.
Because and again, late '80s, because you got the sequel to this, and then I think early '90s you've got Repossessed, the Leslie Nielsen Exorcist,
Linda Blair.
Yeah, Linda Blair returns and gets repossessed. Yeah, so yeah, I guess if I were to do anything, it would be to pair it with Student Bodies.
Yeah,
where I would make Student Bodies the A film and this one the B film.
Yeah. If I'm sticking with the parody theme, I would do Pandemonium. If I want to stick with the movie monsters theme, even though it is somewhat of a comedy, but not the same type, I'd do Monster Squad. I think that would.
Yeah, I thought about that one.
Pair pretty well with it. So
yeah,
which would definitely be the A movie.
I think but I think the problem with pairing it with Monster Squad is it would make this movie look much worse.
Much worse.
Because Monster Squad is just a better version of this movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, well, let's talk about box office, and then we're wrapping it up pretty soon.
It has a box office?
It has a box office. And look, I have never searched harder for box office returns than I had for this movie. It was released in the United States on Friday, October 30th. So it was a Halloween movie, 1981. Halloween 2 actually won the box office that weekend, but I couldn't find any other data on the rest of the movies for that weekend. Like literally when you go on Box Office Mojo, it just has Halloween 2 is number 1, and then it doesn't give you any other new releases or anything. So I'm assuming it did not do very well. Couldn't even find like how much the budget was, how much it made, over the budget. It was there. People saw it, and then it went on video, and more people saw it. Enough people saw it. They made a sequel that even less people saw.
Yep.
Because I didn't know it existed until you told me last week. Now it's time to take a look at how well this 80s flick holds up today. It's the rewatchability and nostalgia meter. It's our way of measuring how enjoyable a movie is for repeat viewings, along with the waves of nostalgia it brings. Here's how it works. If you're new to the show, it's a 1 to 10 scale. Any number between 1 and 10 will do, but here are a few parameters to help you decide. At the bottom of the meter, at number 1, it says, I saw it once, and that was enough. Right in the middle is a 5, which means it's a good rewatch every couple of years. And the highly coveted top of the meter, 10, is highly rewatchable and full of nostalgia. So, Laramy, where does Saturday the 14th land for you on the rewatchability and nostalgia meter?
So even though it does hold some nostalgia for me, because I remember it so well watching it as a kid, I think I've got to put it like a 4. It is not a movie I go like, oh, hey, let's watch this.
Right.
For me, it's just one of those movies that if somebody brings it up, I'm going, have you ever seen it? And the reason why I own it is like, do you want to see it?
Right.
Like that's more what it is for me. Because again, it's one of those train wrecks that you just enjoy. Like it's fun to watch.
Yeah. It definitely falls in the fun to watch bad movie category for sure.
I just pair it with Fright Night. That's a very similar movie.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of making fun a little bit of the monster movies and has that Van Helsing like character.
Yeah, that would work too. That's a good
pair it with Fright
pairing.
Night. There's another pairing. But yeah, no, I think I'm gonna have to go 4.
Yeah. You called it. 4 was exactly where I was going. It's just under the good rewatch every couple of years. Once again, like I said, I don't have as much nostalgia as like I think I saw it, but it's not one that I definitely remembered. But because it is like as terrible as it is, I would want to rewatch it again, like every couple of years. Or like you said, if somebody's like, have you ever heard of Saturday the 14th? No, that movie exists. Like, yeah, let me show it to you. And like to sit down and watch it with someone else would be a lot of fun. So
because it is one of those that if you know it exists, it pops into your head on Saturday the 14th.
Yeah.
Like, so there is just a little bit of nostalgia there.
All right, well, let us know where you think Saturday the 14th should rank on the rewatchability and nostalgia meter. You can also let us know how you did on the risky quizness. If you did better than Laramy, got all 3 right. Send us an email or let us know on social media. You can also leave a comment right here in the comment section if you're watching us on YouTube. And this might have been one of my shortest episodes ever, but that's okay. The movie was only 75 minutes. You can't stretch it much further than that.
Nah.
Well, thank you, Laramy, for joining. So you've been on the last 3 episodes, but I'll ask you again, what you got going on in moving panels for the month of March?
So we're in our March Madness.
Yep.
This year, our focus is on villains. So we've got a bracket, a fan bracket. You can go onto our Facebook page for Moving Panels and vote on that bracket of best adapted villain. And we are covering some villain heavy movies. So on the Marvel side, we chose to do, and Tim joined me for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one.
And then on the DC side, we decided to do The Suicide Squad. You can emphasize on the right. Suicide Squad. And I really only picked that one because it's got more villains in it than the first one does. So we've got that. And then a discussion, one-shot episode in there just about some of our, Justin Baker joined me to talk about some of our favorite like villain moments in movies and TV shows. So we got that going. And then over on King Sized.
Yeah, because it's Friday the 13th.
Yep, Friday the 13th, we release an episode, and this March, Friday the 13th, we are releasing an episode on Misery.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, one of the Oscar-winning Stephen King movies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then Justin Baker also had joined me for that one. So
very cool.
So yeah, that one will come out at the same time. I'm assuming this episode comes out.
Yep, exactly. Friday the 3rd.
Yeah. You're not going to wait till Saturday the 14th to release this one?
No. Why do that? All right. Well, if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love for you to support the show by becoming a partner over at buymeacoffee.com. Jump online and visit the website 80sflickflashback.com and our TeePublic store for some awesome 80s Flick Flashback merch and original designs. It's getting warm in spring. Get you some tank tops and t-shirts. Got some cool summer designs. Check those out. Thank you, Laramy, for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I'm Tim Williams for the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. God, look at all those owls.